And we're rolling.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Walk Off. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by Adam Mack, and just a lovely time to be alive for all of us Blue Jays fans. 8 wins in a row with the Minnesota Twins coming to town.
Let's get delusional,
Get
man.
excited.
Let's do it.
Yes, let's
It's
do it.
we had tempered our excitement on Sunday after
Mm-hmm.
taking care of business against the Angels. Is this momentum real at this point? We're 8-game win streak. Just swept the White Sox.
This
Just
is the
swept
first
the
time I've been
Angels.
This is the first time I've been truly excited about this team all year. I feel it's real. I feel they're putting it together, and they have looked fantastic. So we've got a really big show. I've got a pile of things here that we're going to get to. We are going to tease our interviews that are coming up. First, I do just want to take a second here for all of you who are maybe new to the channel and just constantly see my backgrounds changing what feels like almost every show. So, for those of you who don't know, I am a professional stand-up comic, so I'm on the road a lot. So, this is just a hotel room in Prince George. You may have seen hotel rooms in all sorts of places throughout
In the
Western Canada
movies.
with me.
Yeah.
In-
You recognize hotel rooms from TV shows?
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so that's what's going on. I'm in Prince George, BC currently. So we've got a show here tonight. If you're in Prince George, BC, and you come to the firm tonight and mention the walk-off, I swear I will buy you a beer, probably two.
Love it.
Let's move on.
Let's move
Now
on.
that I've explained where the hell I am
All
and
right.
we've expressed some excitement. So we were very lucky to sit down with bullpen pitcher with the Buffalo Bison last week, Matt Gage. That interview is currently up on our channel. The dude was so forthcoming with what his experiences throughout baseball. He's a big lefty, currently splitting the closing duties in AAA Buffalo with Adrian Hernandez. He's got a whip of 0.85. The guy has been dominant with this AAA Buffalo team, and he is a lefty. So it is likely that we see Matt Gage sometime over the next month or two, especially as this bullpen continues to be heavily used by Charlie Montoyo. We could even see it in a yo-yo style situation. Now, he's not on the 40-man roster. They did just grab Jeremy Beasley's contract because Hyun-Jin Ryu is going on the IL, so it looks like they're going to bump Stripling back up into a starting role. Jeremy Beasley, a righty, so he's joining the bullpen. There is going to be a need for fresh lefty arms, and I think that is going to be when Matt gets his opportunity. Anyways, great interview. Check that out. We've got some really cool interviews coming up next week. Monday, we're actually going to sit down with Blake Murphy of Sportsnet The Fan 590. He's starting a brand new show on 590 called Jays Talk Plus. A lot of Raptors fans might already know who Blake Murphy is, but he's kind of transitioning into a baseball guy. So we're excited to have him on the show Tuesday. We've got the boys from Let's Go, Ricky Romero,
Very cool.
and Beto Duran joining us. Maybe even Josh Tolley, fingers crossed, which would be very cool. And then, as if that's not enough, Thursday we're going to sit down with Mitch Bannon. He is the Blue Jays reporter for Sports Illustrated. That will be out Friday morning as our Friday episode. So lots coming up this week. Busy. You can follow us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, Instagram, The Walk Off Podcast. Join our Discord. It is always free, and there's over 150 rabid Blue Jays fans in there currently. And guess what? It's a very friendly and very cool atmosphere. There's no fighting. 150 Blue Jays fans, and I haven't seen one disrespectful interaction. Obviously, not everyone agrees on everything, but it's a very cool place to join, and of course, that's free. The link is in the show notes, and then Patreon if you want to give a little love there, Adam.
Yeah, Patreon, as always, $4 a month gets you access to all of our interviews the day we record them. So sometimes we do have a backlog. This week is going to be a heavy week for interviews, as you mentioned, but those will all be live early access to our Patreon immediately, whereas the rest of them we're going to have to probably parse out over the next week or two. But big shout out to our Patreon supporters. So David, Abraham, Michael, Sarah, John, Simon, Rashid, Joshua, Jeremy, and Ian. Thank you so much. We also do our movie reviews. Moneyball is now up. It's a very popular one. We had Haykomi from TikTok, and you might know him from Long Toss. Join us for that one. Next up is Field of Dreams, and we're going to have to find time this week or next to get that one recorded, eh, Scott?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. And I did just want to kind of reiterate to everybody watching, we never put any of our Blue Jays content behind a paywall. The worst case scenario is you need to wait a day longer than our Patreon or a couple days longer to get the content. So we feel strongly about that. And again, to all of our Patreon who are supporting, a big thank you to you. Okay, let's get into it, buddy, because honestly, this is such a huge show. This is going to wind up being 60 minutes, I think. The Blue Jays are red hot. 8 in a row, baby. So we'll talk the White Sox series and the fact that the Twins are on their way to town for a series starting today. Raimel Tapia. Dude, we have shit-talked our fourth outfielder, Mr. Tapia, since he has made his appearance with the Blue Jays, but he deserves some love. So we are going to show it. The catching situation is coming to a head in Toronto, both Jansen and Kirk. For those of you who have not taken a look at this tandem's numbers for the year, I would do yourself a favor and do it because it's very exciting stuff. They are currently the best tandem in baseball. And as if that's not exciting enough, the number one prospect in the Blue Jays system, number 4 in all of baseball, Gabriel Moreno, is completely mashing in AAA. So we'll talk the consequences of what's going on with that position. The Vancouver Canadians, high A affiliate with the Toronto Blue Jays, the pitching in Vancouver right now is downright dominating. Filthy stuff going on with that high A team. So we'll take a look at that and let Jays fans know who they should be keeping an eye on over the next year or so. The bullpen is in a crunch, but so far so good, man. We're seeing unlikely heroics from guys like David Phelps, Ross Stripling, and Jimmy Garcia. So we'll talk those boys, and then we'll also get into the injuries to Tim Meza, update you on Taylor Cicero and Nate Pearson. Bo Bichette stays hot. We'll look into his May. And then I know at the beginning of the season, we were kind of joking around about who would have the most saves or the most home runs, Vladdy versus the Markham Madman, Jordan Romano. So we'll kind of update where that fun little battle's at. Hyun-Jin Ryu has an arm injury. He has gone on the 15-day IL, so we'll talk that and what it could mean going forward for the Blue Jays. And then we will end on some MLB stuff. Robinson Cano looks like he's done with the Padres, and Joe Girardi fired from the Phillies. So that is how we will close out today's episode. All right, dude, let's get into it. I know on our mailbag, we were accused of being a little negative on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sunday after long toss. Maybe we didn't shine enough sunshine on the Blue Jays after sweeping the Angels.
Yeah, I mean, some of that stems from not sweeping the Reds. There was some frustration there.
Yeah.
For sure on my part. Sure. Maybe a little bit of disbelief. Maybe disbelief isn't the right word. The Angels were on pace for 100 wins when we came to town, right? So it could have maybe even just been a little bit of like, is this for real or is this a blip on the radar?
Well, let's flip the script here, buddy, because I am about to just shine all sorts of positivity on everyone. Just lay back and enjoy it as I kind of spiel the next little bit of stats here. 8-game win streak, 97-win pace the Blue Jays are currently on. They, by the way, average 7 runs a game during this stretch. 13 home runs in the last 8 games, 56 runs in the last 8 games. Teoscar Hernandez had 6 hits in that Sox series, 5 of them extra base hits. Chapman and Teo Both have found their swing. They're both hitting over 200 now after a really rough start to the season. Kirk, dude, Alejandro Kirk is hitting over 300 right now. He's hitting 480 in this win streak. Like, are you kidding me? SP continues to hit. He's tied for 4th in the AL in doubles. It's June 3rd. Like, I think he's for real. So they're hitting with 2 outs. They're knocking in runs. They are getting down by some runs and coming back. Buddy, I'm in. Like, I really do feel like this is the Blue Jays team we were excited about in March when we were projecting what this team could be in 2022. How are you feeling after this White Sox series?
I mean, yeah. What's not to love after sweeping the White Sox? I mean, it's not like the White Sox are a legitimate contender that, like, okay, we just swept the Yankees or the Rays. You know, it's not quite that level, but I mean, like, we've looked good in this 8-game winning streak. You know,
They put up some big numbers against good pitching.
Yeah, and like, you know, I hate to even say it, but like, let's be real for a second. That whole series against the Angels was kind of messy, right?
Yes,
but by hook or by crook, we got it done. We were putting up runs. We were taking advantage of errors the other team was committing. We were hitting with runners in scoring position. We're just getting it done, and that's something that we didn't see for that frustrating stretch there in late April and early May. So, yeah, I mean, this is the team that we fantasized about all season long. Or all off season, right? So, yeah, it's exciting to see things starting to come together. Vladdy's looking a little bit more confident at the plate now. Yeah, a lot of reason to be optimistic.
A lot of reason to be optimistic, and honestly, man, the Minnesota Twins are the best team in the AL Central, and they're coming to town.
Are
But
they?
I'm not worried. And this is no. You make a really good point. In fact, I know you dug some stats up about how many games they've played against teams over 500. Of course, I'm going to throw you under the bus before you even have a chance to pull those stats back up.
No, I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
You've mentioned it enough that I think it is worth bringing up.
I'm pretty sure I know it off by heart now at this point. The Minnesota Twins, first place in the AL Central, right? 30-23 is their record. So they have 30 wins. 2 of them have come from teams with a record over 500. They have 28 wins against teams with a losing record. So to tell me that the Minnesota Twins are good, I'm not buying it, right? I know that look, because when they signed Carlos Correa in this offseason, I think everybody was kind of shocked. What are they doing going and getting Carlos Correa, right? But then they start the season the way they did, right? First place in the AL Central, and you go, oh, Carlos Correa coming to town. Look, this team's they're fucking not. They're like, they're a cotton candy team. This is not sustainable. I'm still a lot more worried about the White Sox in the playoffs than I am the Minnesota Twins. 2-6
I feel the same way.
against good teams. That's insane.
Yeah.
We've played, you know how many games we have against teams over 500? 24.
I don't. Please tell me. Wow.
24 of our 50 games. So half of our games have been against good teams, and we've got a 600 winning percentage. So I'm not worried. So you're not even
really like I'm not really worried about the Twins either. And as if it wasn't enough, everything that you just mentioned, the Twins are handicapping themselves. You know, they've got a bunch of free thinkers on that team. There are 5. There are That's 5 one way to put it. There are 5 guys who can't cross the border, Max Kepler being the most substantial there, as well as Pagan, Emilio Pagan out of the bullpen. So there's some major pieces missing. And then on top of that, Carlos Correa currently out as he's on the COVID IL. So they are missing some major players. They're facing a very tough Blue Jays team right now. I think that this could very well be 11 wins in a row for the Blue Jays. We don't knock on all the wood. We don't wish to jinx anything here. But.
Look, this is definitely not a team to be taken lightly because no teams are to be taken lightly. That's my general standing policy. Whether it's the Twins coming to town or the Kansas City Royals or the Cincinnati Reds, we got to bring our A game and get stuff done. Let's keep the bats hot. Let's attack, and let's keep this momentum, because on the other side of this Twins series, boy, does it get soft for the next 2 weeks.
Ooh. Like they head to Kansas City. They could be literally heading to Kansas City on an 11-game win streak. And again, we don't want to overlook the Twins. The Twins very well could sweep them. Like the Twins are 30-23, despite the fact that
It
they
doesn't
haven't
happen
played
by accident,
a lot
for
of
sure.
solid teams. It doesn't. They still need to go out and win those games, right? And the pitching kind of lines up for the Jays in this one. Yusei Kikuchi is on the mound tonight. He's facing off against Chichi Gonzalez. Now, Chichi hasn't even played in the major leagues since last year with Colorado, so the advantage goes to the Blue Jays in this one. Jose Barrios does try to kind of reestablish himself. A little bit of redemption is what he's after on Saturday as he lines up against Dylan Bundy. That's probably the Twins' best chance at a win. And then Sunday, Kevin Gausman, the Gausman of Oz, is on the bump facing off against Devin Smeltzer. Smeltzer's actually been pretty good for the Twins since they brought him up. He's had 4 starts and has looked pretty decent. However, it's Kevin Gausman. I got to give the edge to the Jays there.
Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, if we get through Minnesota, we've got the Royals, we've got the Tigers for 3, we've got the Baltimore Orioles for 4 before we go to New York. We could be riding a 21-game win streak going into New York.
Okay. Yeah, we're Moneyball 2 here. We bring Brad Pitt in as Mark Shapiro.
Hey, man, I said let's get delusional today. 21-game winning streak going into New York.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I love it. The comments are going to be like, these guys are full of shit, man. So positive. No, nothing's ever wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a quick left turn here and talk our 4th outfielder. Raimel Tapia, obviously acquired from the Colorado Rockies for Randall Grichuk early in the season. And Jays fans, I'll be very honest, man. Jays fans, myself included, yourself included, he didn't make a great first impression.
No.
He at times gave the impression like maybe he wasn't digging in and working as hard as he could. I think that rubbed some folks the wrong way. He made some boneheaded mistakes, which is always tough to overcome. And to get a fan base to endear to you, you don't want to be picked off in weird situations twice in the first 6 weeks of your tenure with a team. You know, he's made some bonehead plays on the base path. But, buddy, in the last 18 games, Raimel Tapia has been phenomenal.
Hold on. I do need to toot my own horn just 1 second. Last long toss, we were talking about Raimel Tapia. I think Jen was picking on him as well. It was right around our Matt Chapman discussion. And I actually became a Tapia defender at that point, because when we were comparing him to Matt Chapman and the numbers Chapman had been putting up, Chapman again on the upwards trajectory as of late as well. But yes, I do want to take a little bit of credit. I was like 2 days ahead of you on this one, that Tapia's been better, and we'll get it. Let's get into that. How much better he's been.
Yeah, well, show me his numbers. What does he look like the last 18 days?
Since May 11th, he's got a batting average of .327 over the last 18 games. 4 doubles, 6 RBIs, on base percentage of .389. So, I mean,
he's getting on base at almost under a 400 pace, and I mean, the guy's got so much speed. This is why the Blue Jays organization went out and acquired Raimel Tapia. Exactly what we're seeing. Even yesterday, buddy, did I ever love watching him dig around first, come flying into second base, his hair in the wind, the helmet comes off, the ball pops loose on his horse, back to third, and of course, the barrio, right? The clubhouse gang, if you will, loved watching that. Like, just pumped the team right up.
Yeah.
You're starting to see some camaraderie amongst these new guys with the established core. You're starting to watch the fun come back into the game. Of course, it's difficult to have a good time when you're losing, right? It's easy to have a good time when you're on an 8-game win streak, but boy, is this team fun to watch when they're winning. And Raimel Tapia has been excellent. Everything
He
we could ask
has
for
been
in the last
excellent.
3 weeks. So there we go. And on top of it, as if all those numbers aren't enough, just if he was playing every day, the fact that he's filled in so admirably in center field while Springer has had to take a few days off, he's come up with some really big hits, right? He showed off his speed. And again, it just looks like he's hustling. If he keeps this up, I'm going to be a Raimel Tapia fan.
Yeah, I mean, we mocked him for all of April, but there's no
Yeah.
arguing with the numbers, and I think 18 game. I mean, whatever. It's still a sample size worth noting of like 10% of a season. So, everybody can get hot for 18 games, but hopefully this is
Absolutely.
sustainable. Hopefully, like
Hey,
I don't expect 327 all season long, but if he can be like a 250 guy,
yeah.
we'll take that any day of the week.
Hey,
From
if
your
his on
number
base
8
percentage
hitter,
sits, yeah, if his on base percentage sits around 350, I mean, you can't ask for more out of a guy like that, out of a guy
yeah.
like Tapia. And honestly, now that Mr. April, Randall Grishik, has kind of come back down to life, his May is showing, his June is showing. It
Yeah,
doesn't
no.
feel like a lopsided trade. And this is one thing Blue Jays fans have to remember too. We traded Randall Grishik. Everyone hated him. Right? Like I shouldn't say that. We all had respect for Randall Grishik, but he was getting frustrating to watch by the end of 2021. His strikeouts definitely didn't fit the spot he was hitting in this lineup. The Jays front office did a switch, but if you're trading Randall Grishik, you're only going to get Raimel Tapia back, right?
Yeah,
So
no,
you kind of
exactly.
need to temper your expectations a little bit. And now we're seeing what Tapia can do when he is at his best, which we already knew what Grishik could do. So it's pretty great, and I think it's just going to help this team going forward. Let's transition here really quickly to catching. I don't think I need to bring it up. Every Blue Jay fan out there is screaming from the rooftop, what a season Alejandro Kirk is having for this Toronto Blue Jays team. He has been absolutely on fire. Guy, his batting average is 338 since May 1st.
Yeah. Yeah, and
He's our catcher. Our catcher's hitting 340.
look,
I'm like,
and
what?
look, as much as I wanted to take credit for being early on the Tapia defense train, I'm late to the Alejandro Kirk hype train. Mid-April, he's hitting around 200. I was frustrated by him. I've never
Yeah.
really been on the Kirk as like our long-term catcher. I know he seems to have the same kind of enthusiasm from the fan base that Rowdy Tellez had. It's like all the Rowdy
Yeah.
Tellez fans just became Alejandro Kirk fans, which is great. But he's playing phenomenally. Like I can't argue with it, and I'm thrilled to see it.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
still think he's a trade
absolutely.
piece. So the better he hits, the better pitcher we're getting back, or the lesser prospects we have to include.
He has a 400 on base percentage in May. He's got 3 home runs and 11 RBIs. We watched him hit a couple dingers just, was it yesterday, 2 days ago?
Yeah.
June 1st, I think. He has been excellent behind the plate. His framing is one of the best in Major League Baseball, which is really great to see because that is one aspect that Danny Jansen has struggled at this year, is his framing hasn't been very good. Speaking of Danny Jansen, he has 7 home runs and 48 plate appearances this
He
year.
leads the AL in home runs.
For catchers, yeah.
Or sorry, yes, for
He has
catchers.
7 home runs. He has 7 home runs and 48 plate appearances. If you are hearing that and don't really understand what that means, let's break it down because I've got a list here of the most home runs through first 50 plate appearances of a season in Blue Jays history. Number
Okay.
1, Danny Jansen. 2022 was 7. That ties Carlos Delgado, who also did it in 1994. And then after that, the only other guys who have done 6 was Vernon Wells, Carlos Delgado, Tony Batista. Some pretty elite.
That is some pretty elite
Company.
company.
What's Jano's numbers looking at for 2022? Because
Well, the
I know
batting
it's a small
average,
sample
the
size.
batting average is still good for the season. He's hitting
Hmm.
283, on base percentage of 340, and a slugging of 760. To be realistic and fair, though, that came from a pretty stacked April before the injury. So if
Yeah,
we look at just the return from the injury and take off those first 3 games of the year, he's hitting 231 since then.
which is his career average and is probably where we should expect Danny Jansen to be.
Yes,
I'm fine with
but
Danny Jansen
if
hitting
he's hitting
230.
231 with power from the
Yeah.
catching position, hitting number
Yes.
8 or 9, you'll take that all day. You know who will take those numbers? Marcus Simeon would die to have those numbers. Marcus Simeon hitting, I believe, still under 200. Just hit his second home run of the
Yes.
season yesterday.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah. So,
I
you know
don't
what?
know if
Sorry, Danny Jet, just the pace that he's on. You mentioned the 48 plate appearances and having 7 home runs. So, I know this is not how like baseball works,
yes.
but if it
Yes.
was, and you could just extrapolate that over the course of a season and pencil him in for 600 plate appearances, that's like a 90 home run pace that he's on. That's that's where like yeah,
Yeah.
7 home runs in such a like a condensed time. It's
Yeah.
insane power. So even like he's got lots of room for like that power, those numbers to even out and fall back to earth,
No, I get what you're
and
saying.
still
Move
be
over Barry
excited, right?
Bonds. Yeah, move over
Yes,
Barry Bonds. Here comes Jano. Yes.
exactly. Another Bamo for
All
Jano.
jokes aside, though, from the catching position, this tandem is putting up the best numbers in Major League Baseball, which is absolutely incredible. Especially if you kind of look back 18 months at where this catching position was and how it was probably a weakness on this team, and it has now become a strength. And as if that's not enough, the number one prospect in the Toronto Blue Jays system, a guy that everyone is incredibly excited about, is super highly touted, big time hype behind Gabriel Moreno for good reason. He's the number 4 prospect in all of baseball. He is throwing out 13 out of 26 runners this year, Adam. I mean, I'm not even talking about the fact that he's hitting just under 300 or 340.
Right.
Like he's hitting just under 340 as a catcher, and he's throwing out 50% of base stealers. The guy is a stud at 22, and you know what is insane to think about? We might not see him in 2022. Like, let's be real for a second, okay? Because Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk, if they continue to produce around what they're doing,
Sure.
obviously there's going to be some regression when it comes to Danny Jansen in particular. But if they continue to be around what they are doing, there is not a spot on this team for Gabriel Moreno. And I don't think this front office is all that worried about it, because you can leave him there, let him continue to get regular reps, let him dominate at AAA. Maybe you bring him up as a September call-up, let him get some experience that way. The AAA season is over, right? And then in the offseason, you reevaluate, and maybe like you brought up at the beginning of this catching talk, Alejandro Kirk is moved for an area of need, but maybe he's not. Maybe Alejandro Kirk convinces this front office that he is not the guy that they should be shopping. Maybe it is Gabriel Moreno that they're shopping, or maybe even crazier, Danny Jansen is a guy that they move on from. Really interesting and exciting to kind of see what this front office is going to do. Like, there's so many options. An
It's
embarrassment of riches.
it's quite the quagmire for sure. Before we move on from the catchers, Danny Jansen this season through 16 games, 7 home runs. It's a 71 home run pace. Do you think he gets to 30 this year?
No, I think Danny Jansen. I'd be
30
really
is
happy if he
probably
hits
too big of
20.
a number.
Yeah,
20?
I'd be really happy. I think 20. I think 20 is not only should he do it, I think it's very, very likely. We're sitting here June 3rd, right?
Yeah, so we're about a
June
third
3rd.
of the way through the season.
As long as he stays healthy, I think he should hit 20. especially if he continues. Now, we'll see what pitching does too, right? Guys always adjust. Danny's been
Yeah.
very clear that he's decided to just like go with his oppo power, to hit the ball the other way, concentrate on doing what he does well, rather than trying to be a more complete hitter and hitting the ball all over the field. And it's working very well for him. There will be some adjustments made from pitching.
I still think 25 home runs from Danny Jansen is attainable this year,
I like it.
as long as he stays healthy. But if we're getting a 230 batting average with 25 home runs from our catching position, oh my God, dude. Like, love it. Love it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, let's shift gears here. Obviously, one of the, I don't know, Achilles heel might be the wrong term for this, but one of the weaknesses in the Blue Jays organization currently is that upper level of pitching in the minor leagues, kind of the insulatory depth you need.
Sure.
We're watching Zach Logue start every 5 days for the Oakland Athletics. He was probably the guy most likely to kind of take that role for the Blue Jays.
Yep.
And I think with Hyun-Jin Ryu going down, we would have seen Zach Logue right now, June 3rd. It would probably be him being called up instead of Jeremy Beasley. He'd be probably slotting into the starting rotation. That is not an option that the Blue Jays currently have. The most depth that they have at AAA is probably a guy like Casey Lawrence, and a seasoned veteran, 35 years old, a guy who's kicked around the league for a decade. However, that being stated, the future is bright for the pitching coming up in this Blue Jays system, because the Vancouver Canadians currently have a rotation of guys that is just lighting the league up. So Semro Burse, friend of the show, he's actually been on a couple of times. For the second time in the first 5 weeks of the season, he's won the Northwest League Pitcher of the Month. Sem having himself a season. 20 years old. Jays picked him up 3 years ago in the international free agency. Ricky Tiedemann, one of the top draft picks from last year's draft, now in the top 100 prospects according to Baseball America. Cool. Chad Dallas, friend of the show.
Is Ricky Tiedemann already in the top 100 for baseball?
Yeah, he was. He was just a few days ago, actually, when they re-released.
19 years old. Yeah. 19 years old. 19 years old.
Like, and think about, listen to those ages. Semro Burse, 20. Ricky Tiedemann, 19. Chad Dallas, 21. From the Tennessee Volunteer alum, right? He's a righty, friend of the show, thriving in his. This is Chad Dallas's first full year of professional ball. And then they've got Yosfer Zulueta, 25-year-old out of Cuba. And he has struggled with injuries since the Blue Jays picked him up as an international free agent a few years ago. He's healthy. He's throwing 100 miles per hour. He is dominating, and he's a guy that when we had Arden Zwelling on the show a couple weeks ago or a week and a half ago, he brought him up as a guy to keep an eye on. Now, Zulueta is 25, so he's a little bit older than the other three we mentioned. But let's go over some of their numbers. What's Sem looking like this year?
All right, well, you know what? We're going to start with Zulueta because I've got his pulled up right now. Start of the season in Dunedin. Was promoted to Vancouver and has had 3 appearances down there, 1 earned run so far in 3 appearances. So an ERA of 0.6 right now for Yosfer Zulueta. Not bad. That's exactly what you like to see. For an older guy, he might be a guy, if he continues to pitch well, we see get bumped up to Double-A sooner, just
fairly
because
quickly.
Of the age, right?
Yes. Yes. And the fact he's mowing through hitters right now in high A.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, what is he really? How much is he really developing when you're playing?
How much development
children,
does he need?
right?
Yes.
Yeah. If we look at Semro Burse again, friend of the show, a couple great conversations with Sem actually. We should get him back on soon. So Semro Burse pitching very well. ERA with Vancouver right now of, I believe, 2.1. Hasn't allowed an earned run since April 19th. So, first 2 starts of the season.
Sem's another guy
2 runs in the first game, 3 runs in the second game. Since then, he's just gone 7 innings for nothing, 5 innings for nothing, 6 innings for nothing, 7 innings for nothing, 5 innings for nothing.
I mean, let's be serious, Adam.
Even at
Semro Burst
20,
is
he
going to
might be
get
a guy who
at 20.
finishes the season in Double A.
I think there's no way he doesn't. I mean, what good is it for him to continue, like, to continue his development, right? What good is it to just let him continue to just mow through these, like, high A guys? So, at 20 years old, I think we're going to see a promotion from Semro Burst before the end of the season. Like Adam pointed out with Zulueta, I mean, it's an obvious choice to move him up. Let's talk Ricky Tiedemann, who just got bumped into the top 100 prospects by Baseball America.
So Ricky Tiedemann now has an ERA on the season of he was 1.8 for an ERA in Dunedin, and then since getting promoted to Vancouver there in 2 starts, looks like, I think he's a bullpen arm right now actually.
Okay.
But he's got an ERA of 0.93. No, if we look at his game logs, looks like it is 2 starts actually. So he's got
perfect, yes.
4 2/3 and a 5 inning appearance. 13 strikeouts to 2 walks in basically 10 innings. He's made the transition nicely. We haven't seen any sort of a setback. He should continue to develop nicely, and I would say keep climbing up that top 100 prospect leaderboard. So definitely Ricky Tiedemann is someone to keep an eye on.
I think when you're talking Ricky and you're talking Chad Dallas, these are 2 guys that are going to stay with Vancouver for the season before they get called up. I think that when you're looking at Double A New Hampshire, I think that Roburst and Zulueta are the guys that will get the call this season. Let's talk Chad Dallas really quick. This is his first full season of professional ball, 21-year-old that they drafted out of Tennessee last year. He came on the show. Really good guy. That interview is actually up currently. Cheddar is up on our full conversations bar on YouTube. You can kind of pull down and scroll down a bit, and Chad Dallas is there. What's Chad looking like? I know he had a rough outing May 25th, but other than that.
Yeah, so his last start was like 5 earned runs in 1 1/3 innings. So those have inflated his numbers quite a bit. So on the season, he's got an ERA of 3.49 and a WHIP of 1.5. But if you take that 1 start out of it, the numbers drop significantly to around 2 ERA on the season. So,
wow.
I mean, for your first year in professional ball, it's, those numbers aren't quite as sexy as a Semro Burst and what Tiedemann is doing so far. But I mean, you can't compare yourself to Vladimir Guerrero every single day and expect to be too happy, right? So, but still, very good numbers from Chad Dallas, and for his first year in pro ball, it's very encouraging.
And for all Blue Jays fans, yes, these guys are only at high A right now, but to see a starting staff this dominant is exciting, and we're going to get to the point in 2024 where Ryu is no longer with the team, in 2025 when Kikuchi's deal is over, and there are going to be some legitimate contenders to take these spots from within the organization, and it's exciting to see that sort of depth and draft savviness or international signing savviness out of this front office. So that's great.
Sorry, just to get the actual numbers out there for Chad Dallas there. Other than that start that he got blown up on, ERA of 1.59 on the season and a WHIP of around 1.1. So not
elite,
too shabby.
Elite numbers other than the 1 start. Okay, let's transition back to the big leagues and the Blue Jays bullpen, because this bullpen has been overused to date, bottom line, right? That's pretty safe to say.
Yes, no argument here.
I mean, some guys have really stepped up, though, in roles that maybe they're not normally used in. David Phelps has been the big one. My God, man. I feel like we talk about David Phelps being a bit of a savior in the bullpen every single year since we've started this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So let's knock on all the wood and chase all the bad tacos away, because it seems like every time we start to shine a light on David Phelps, something goes wrong. But my goodness, he has been I one of the most underrated dudes on this team.
Yeah, I mean, 35 years old. He's a veteran that's bounced around the league. I think he's played with 7 or 8 different organizations at this point.
Yeah.
You know, his career numbers 3.85 for an ERA, currently sitting at
Yeah.
2.25 this year, so like significantly improved. Has a career whip of 1.311, and he's currently sitting at 1.15. So like numbers are a lot better all across the board. Yeah, he's filled in admirably. If he could keep this up, that's great. He's still not like a high
And I
leverage guy,
think,
right? But
yeah. Yeah, you're definitely rolling the dice continuing to strut him out there in high leverage situations, but I think he's got the experience to keep it together. And I know that Danny Jansen, when he came on the show, David Phelps was a dude he brought up as a real clubhouse leader, a guy who has really kind of taken the lead in that bullpen, a guy who has made himself available to some of the younger dudes coming up, and a guy who has been there and done that, right? He's kind of been in every situation. He's gone through the rigors of 162 games many times throughout his career. He's a 10-year veteran.
yeah.
So I think that David Phelps is definitely a guy that gets overlooked a little bit by some of the Blue Jays fans, but he has been phenomenal. Ross Stripling's another guy that, my goodness, dude, like, he has just we've talked about it a few times over the last couple weeks, but he's a guy who just any situation that is asked of him, he steps up. He's got a save. He's started games.
Yeah.
He's pitched in long relief. He's pitched in high leverage. He's pitched in low leverage. I mean, the dude is a chameleon out there. And without Ross Stripling, this team would be pretty hard up. I mean, look at him. He's going to be starting on Monday for Hyun-Jin Ryu. He's kind of ramping back up his after ramping down. He's ramping back up. You just need to keep your fingers crossed that this guy can stay healthy, because this sort of like
So I'm gonna just give
tumultuousness.
I'm gonna run down. He's got 12. No, he's got 13 appearances now on the season. I'm gonna just run down all 13 innings pitched game by game. Okay, you just follow this roller coaster with me, and I think this is the most impressive stat about him so far. Okay, so 1, 1, 4, 4, 5, 4, 4, 1/3, 2, 2, 1/3. That's when he finished the save for Romano there,
Yeah.
after Romano struggled at the very end. And then 1 2/3, 2 2/3. And now it's going to be back to 4 and 5.
Yeah.
He's going to get at least 2 starts, probably 3. Right? Filling in for Ryu.
This is not easy. This is not easy. I hope baseball fans that are listening right now understand what is being asked of Ross
Like the
Stripling.
physical toll to have your body ready in those different situations. It's
There's no consistency. There's no consistency to how the time between his pitching. There's no consistency in the number of innings that he's putting out there. There's no consistency in the number of pitches he's throwing. There's no consistency in his regiment to get ready. I mean, this is an incredibly difficult role that Ross Stripling is filling, and not just filling, but excelling at.
like, yeah, I mean, 2 different occasions we've had him pitch at least twice in 3 days. And then other times 5 days between starts, right? Like,
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the problem though with Ross Stripling. If we're putting him back into the starting rotation, we're going to pencil him in at number 5, filling in for Ryu. Ryu's gone for 15 days on the IL. That's at least 3 starts, let's say. And the second stint on the IL for any pitcher, this
Is a
team
scary
has to
one.
be a lot more careful bringing him back,
Yes.
right? Is there some long-term Ryu's not here. I don't really want to speculate too much in a pessimistic way. It's been such a positive show. But we're going to see Stripling for a bit. If he's only given us 5 innings at best, that's a lot more load on the bullpen, right? Like it's kind of a double whammy kick in the face because on the one hand, every 5 days is a big bullpen day, right? So that taxes the bullpen. And then on top of that, you we're also just by default of not having Stripling there, missing our long reliever.
Yes.
Right? So it is like that double whammy where like, okay, well Phelps, you're gonna be pitching back to back today. Or like
Yeah.
it's such a snowball effect and that scares
The other
me.
guy,
That scares me,
the other
Scott.
guy, and it should scare you. The other guy who's been very good the last couple of weeks is Jimmy Garcia, and we've watched Montoyo strut him out for 2 innings at a time, which I think is really good news because hopefully he can be a guy who kind of slides into what Stripling was doing, but maybe a little bit higher leverage. Garcia, when we were this was, I think it was 10 days ago, we kind of did a breakdown of the bullpen and our level of comfort with each guy in a high leverage situation. And both you and I mentioned that we were probably about a 5 out of 10 for comfort in Garcia when the chips are down. And I would say I'm probably about an 8 right now. Like, he has looked really good in the last couple of weeks. Do you have numbers to back this up?
So first of all, you mentioned Garcia is a guy who can come out for 2 innings. Only on 2 occasions so far this year. In 22 games, he's only come out for a second inning twice. So it is possible, but I wouldn't say that is like a trend that we're comfortable with. But it is an option. We've seen him do it more than we've seen Jordan Romano do it. So I'll give him that. As far as stats as of recently, let's look back to May 14th. And his ERA on the season is around 3, but his ERA in the since May 14th is 1.
Wow.
So, and his whip, because that's what really matters for relievers, 5 hits, 2 walks through 9 innings. So what's 7 divided by 9? It's under 1.
Yeah, it's under
Right?
1, which is all you can
0.8,
ask. 0.9,
something like that. That's good. That's what we need out of him. That's kind of what I was expecting to get and wasn't seeing through April and early May. But yeah, I mean, the confidence is going up. The numbers continue to go down. The confidence continues to go up. That's how it works, right?
So we have talked about the crunch that's going on in the bullpen. This is a bullpen that has been overused. Tim Meza is definitely being missed. He's our high leverage lefty. Went down on injury about a month ago, and it looks like he's coming back. So he has a bullpen. He pitched a bullpen 4 days ago. He's pitching another one today. He could join the team without needing a rehab stint, which would be phenomenal if he's ready out of this bullpen starting on Monday when they go to Kansas City, which is what looks like. Fingers crossed, as long as he's feeling good after today's bullpen session, should be the case. Taylor Cicero pitched a bullpen just yesterday. He's been struggling with some soreness. He's close to a rehab assignment. That is another lefty arm that I think really could benefit this Blue Jays bullpen. And then Nate Pearson.
That's what I was going to say.
He actually went 2 innings pitched yesterday with Buffalo fastball between 95 and 97.
So worth noting there, because not everybody might be aware of this. When Nate Pearson first came back from mono, he was starting in Dunedin because of the facility there, right? So obviously in terms of like major medical rehab, that's where they like to send guys, is Dunedin. So yes, 2 days ago was promoted to AAA, so that's a very encouraging sign. And like you said, pitched well in his outing.
He did. He did allow a home run, a solo home run, which if you're going to allow a home run, solo is what I like to see. He's still, I'll be honest, I don't really know what this organization has planned for Nate Pearson. We're sitting here June 3rd. They obviously could use some swing and miss in the back end of this Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. Are they going to try and build Nate up to starting? there is a hole in this rotation. I don't think so, though.
No.
Not halfway through the season, but what the hell do I know? Like, it's a real we don't have any inside information, so it's a real guessing game. Who knows what they're doing with Nate Pearson? But it is good news that he's back in Buffalo. It is good news that he's hitting over 95 with his fastball. Again, when he got mono, he basically got to a level of fitness where he had to start completely over. It's like he was just starting spring training from day one. So there's still some time to go here to build him up, whether it's going to be a starter or whether it's going to be a bullpen piece. Time will tell, but it is good to see that he's at least seeing some velo on his fastball again.
One thing, a couple things to note here with Nate Pearson. He does have options left, so even once his rehab stint is over, Jays could just keep him at AAA. Let him build confidence. I don't know what the right word is for it. Build up his arm. I would say that Nate Pearson should see an opportunity here with the news of Hyun-Jin Ryu.
Yeah.
I hope he seizes it. I that number 5 slot is just ripe for the picking, and
Yes, it
I
is.
would love to see Nate Pearson make a push and have the organization encourage him to slot into that 5 spot. I know like some swing and miss stuff in the bullpen is appealing, but like I don't know, man. If he can like stay healthy and recover quickly and get up to
No,
speed,
I'm
and
with you.
man, I would rather see, look, because we just talked Ross Stripling to we're blue in the face. I would way rather see Ross Stripling in that long relief, pitching every
Yes.
2 days. You know, we had a bad game from the starter. Stripling's going in, whatever. I'd rather Ross Stripling be that guy and Nate Pearson be the guy who's coming in and giving us 4 innings, and then have Nate Pierce or have Ross Stripling as the option out of the bullpen. That's what I would rather see.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we're
I agree.
comparing him to Hyunjin Ryu, I mean, other than as of late, I think that's a pretty low bar we're setting for what we're expecting out of a 5th starter, right? What do you think?
I mean, the numbers would say so this year. I'll be honest, I really was excited about Ryu coming back. I thought he looked really good. I know that he was still giving up some hard contact at point. Exit velo off of the batters that he was pitching to was up there, but he was hitting his spots again. His changeup looked as the best I've seen it look since early last year. He was dropping that curve in for strikes. He was hitting his location. I mean, even the game where he was pulled and gave up 3 runs in 4 innings, something was wrong. He was still hitting his spot, but you could tell it was 86 coming out of his hand for the fastball, which is, even for Ryu, far below what he normally throws, which is
So,
around 90, 91.
so 4 starts from Ryu coming back from injury. Okay, since he's come back from injury, 2.29 ERA, very good. But the FIP, that is fielder independent pitching, so that's
Yes.
advanced stats where it's like the equalizer, whatever. So his FIP is 4.31. So if I'm understanding that
Which says he's
correct me that he's been
been
lucky.
lucky.
So take that with a grain of salt if you want, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Scott. It's tough to see him injured again. I think this stint, he's on the 15-day
It's
IL
concerning.
right now. I think it's going to get bumped to the long-term IL at the end of it. Like, there's
It's
no point in
concerning.
putting him there yet, but they've got to be careful bringing him back. And here's the other thing with him being our fifth guy. Like, why rush him back, right? Like, if it's Gosman or it's
Yeah.
Manoa, and it's like, oh, we need our top of the rotation guy, let's get him back, let's push it. But when it's a guy who's gonna give you an ERA like over 4 anyways, like why would you rush it? I don't know. I think this is gonna be a long stint on the IL for Ryu.
I worry that there's actual structural damage and that there's a surgery around the corner. I mean, it would honestly knock on all the wood and chase the bad tacos away, but my goodness, it would be a really sad state of affairs if the Jays finally get back to Toronto as their home. Ryu finally gets to experience what Toronto is like in his stint with this Blue Jays organization. And then if it's a serious surgery, I mean, that 4-inning outing could be the last game we see Ryu pitch. Worst case scenario, I don't even like bringing it up, but the
It's
fact
something
that
to
he's going
consider.
back on the IL, it's
And so
concerning.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Less
and
than a
so
month
soon. And
later,
so
he's back on the IL.
they're doing some tests today. They're getting some X-rays and so on and so forth done. More information will be available probably even by the end of the day. By the time you guys are all watching this, you probably already know what's going on with Ryu. But
It's like the Ryan Baracki thing last week.
yeah,
We were like, his day's numbered. We released the episode, and he's already DFA'd by the time we hit publish.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
all right.
Okay, we should probably wrap this thing up. I know that we're getting to the end of it. I did want to really quickly touch on Bo Bichette and just talk about what a catalyst that he was for getting this offense going. I mean, he was hitting .213 with an OPS of .535 in April. Just disgusting, and one of the biggest slumps that Bo Bichette has experienced in his career. May, he was hitting just under .300 with an OPS just under .900. The guy has been incredible while everyone else was cold. Not an easy thing to do. I mean, he was really the only guy hitting for a while, him and Espinal. So really big hats off to Bo Bichette and what he has done. He's 24 years old, man, and he's been a rallying point for this team. You could tell he's become a leader in that clubhouse.
Well, and in addition to the bat being hotter, since May 4th, one error. So in the last 28 days, one error from Bo Bichette after starting the season with like 6 in the first 28 days.
And, buddy, he made a play last night, or yesterday afternoon, I guess I should say, where he was going the other way towards third base, turned and fired to first, and got the out. And it is a highlight reel play. It is a play that it's a Bo Bichette play that will be in highlights of him for the rest of his career. Like, that's how good it was.
Very good.
So he has really shored up his defense.
One thing I do want to bring up, too, we had Rick, he's a White Sox fan, on Long Toss on Sunday. I asked him the question because, obviously, Tim Anderson, one of the best shortstops in the game for the Chicago White Sox, leads all of baseball in errors. And I was wondering what the fan base was like there because, obviously, a lot of heat on Bo Bichette for his errors. But Rick brought up the point that, like, look, when you're that good and your range is that incredible, like, these guys just get to balls that most people don't even get a chance to make a play on, right? So, like, I mean, you talk about this play with Bo, you know, ranging so far this way, and he's got to, you know, make the jumping, turning, throw, wherever the case may be, right? Like, if he was just less good, that's just a base hit through the infield. Like, that's
just a base hit.
You know, and there's no
not
error,
an error.
not even an opportunity for an error. So there is something to be considered there when you look at these guys. Like Fernando Tatis is another one, right? Where like the error numbers continue to climb. You're like, this guy sucks, but it's like, no, this guy's so good, right? I mean, there's one way to look at it, right? That's the positive way. So.
Very true. So before we wrap this up, let's quickly touch on Vlad and Romano. At the beginning of the season, we had a fun little scenario of which one do we think will happen? Do you think Vlad will beat Romano with home runs over saves, or do you think Romano will put up more saves than Vladdy home runs? Both you and I were like, oh yeah, Vladdy is going to have way more home runs than Romano saves. And right now, beginning of June, we're eating our words, my friend.
Well, it's a combination of Romano has pitched incredibly well and has been given not literally every save opportunity that's come his way, but I would say 9 out of 10. If the Jays are up by 3, Romano's going out there anyways.
Yeah.
And Vladdy has been ice cold for the last month, maybe longer. But yeah, Vladdy currently at 10 home runs, Jordan Romano at 16. Has your opinion changed? I know last week we were thinking, okay, Romano's running away with this. Dead ball is really affecting Vladdy. What do you think? I think it's close.
I still think Vladdy's going to win this thing.
I was going to say, I think
Vladdy's going to win this thing.
I think Vladdy's going to have a good summer. I think the confidence is going to come back around. I still see Vladdy being a 30-plus home run guy this year. What about you?
I do. I think Vladdy's going to hit 30. I think Jordan Romano's going to hit 30 saves too, though. So we'll see
All
what
right.
happens here.
Very exciting stuff.
The race is on.
The race is on. Joe Girardi fired by the Phillies. They're looking for that dead cat bounce.
That's right. I want to point out here something that friend of the show Andrew Stoughton tweeted this morning about Joe Girardi, and all he had was the Phillies announced that they had fired Joe Girardi. They've got an interim manager, and then Andrew retweeted it and just put, "Hire John Gibbons, you cowards." And I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So Joe Girardi's out as the Phillies manager, former Yankee, and this goes in really well with the fact that Robinson Cano, of course, he was suspended, and the Mets had to pay him, despite the fact that he was full of PEDs, so he was suspended for last year's season. The San Diego Padres this year took a flyer on him, and that little experiment looks like it has come to an end, correct?
It is now over. He hit .091 was his batting average with the Padres this year. So hitting under 100 through the first 12 games, and that experiment is now over. Robinson Cano, not a Hall of Famer. PEDs or not a Hall of Famer, right?
I would agree.
335 home runs in his career, 1,300 RBIs, career batting average of .301, countless All-Star games.
He has a career batting average of .301.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even with this terrible finish.
Yeah.
Maybe he just retires.
I think he should. He's 39 years old, right? So
yeah.
I say get rid of him. Yeah. Let's. Funny thing to note in the Blue Jays game the other day. Schneider for manager was a banner out in the outfield. It's funny. The Phillies just fired Girardi. They are 7 games under 500 right now, and Blue Jays fans are calling to fire Charlie Montoyo, and we're 10 games over 500. Like,
fans.
Let's get delusional. All right. Man, it's been a full hour. Everybody's getting their money's worth today. Should we wrap it up here, buddy?
Absolutely. Thank you so much to everyone who has hit the like button. All of you who have subscribed on YouTube, it means a lot. All of you who have subscribed on the audio side, it means a lot. All of you who have commented, we really do appreciate it. Thank you so much to all of you who have made this walk-off community such a good time for Adam and I. It's just a blast. We are going to be doing Long Toss on Sunday, 6 to 8 Eastern Time. Please join us after the Jays game. We will talk everything Blue Jays and all about that Twins series and the upcoming road trip headed to Kansas City. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.